Virgo friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Virgo March 2024 Astrology Horoscope Forecast. I'm calling the theme of this month Cosmic Wealth Portal, Virgo's Financial Revolution, and we'll get into lots more details why soon, but there are also a lot of other things that we have to talk about this month. My intention for my work is to help you align with the natural rhythms of the universe so that you can have the best experience possible. So through education and information, you can do that. A little bit of forethought can definitely yield great results. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I'm going to let you know what you're working with and you can make the most of the starry possibilities. This is for you if Virgo is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Virgo placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. And if you're a very late degree Virgo friend, so September 15th or so through the rest of the sign, or like 23-degree Virgo placement through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Libra report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. All right, so I'm going to layer in the factors that will affect this month. Some of the factors are present for around a month, but a lot of the factors don't neatly fit into a monthly horoscope. They never do. Astrological factors do not cooperate to only fit within that month. They usually start before or after or are there for part of the month. It's complicated, right? And so I take a stepwise approach to talk about the layers that are affecting this month to build the story so you can get a solid understanding, a really juicy understanding of the potentials and then make the most of them. So the first point I want to talk about is that we have double the sweet aspects compared to the salty ones this month. Salty aspects are the ones, or this the term that I use to describe when they're incongruent. Basically, there are certain mathematical angles that create stress and tension and awkwardness, and there are certain mathematical angles that create peace and harmony. And we know this from sacred geometry. And we're not going to go into that now, but of course, all of that is reflected here in astrology as well. So the fact that we, first of all, have double the sweet aspects, and second of all, we don't have a ton of aspects this month, is kind of refreshing, because every aspect that happens, especially if it's a salty one, it's like another bump in the road and just like an obstacle in the way and something to get through. We don't have a lot of that this month. We do have an eclipse, and that will dominate the month. And of course, we've got the eclipse in April as well, which will also be factoring in here. But at least from the perspective of the connections, we've got two check marks of positive things to share there. The next very important thing to know is that from January 21st through March 20th, we have a period of time that's free from personal planet retrogrades. Mercury, Venus, Mars are the planets that can go retrograde, that are the personal planets. They're the ones closest to us. And when they go retrograde, or they have what's called a shadow period, which is the weeks before and after their retrograde cycle, it becomes a time for going inwards and backwards and miscommunications and all kinds of other things. So when we have a period of time where we don't have any of that going on, this is the period of time where you can really blaze forward. And to add to that, so we're working with that for the first 3 weeks of the month. Add to that, at the end of January, all the outer planets went direct, and they will stay direct even for longer than this personal planet open period, which will be like May 2nd. You can look for Annie Botticelli Cosmic Green Lights to have my very in-depth report about all of the planets going direct and 15 ways you can make the most of that. It's a really in-depth report. We're not going to go into that here, but I'll give you a couple of things to help you understand, because knowing the tides, I like to call these, these stories that weave into each other like a tide, because sometimes the energy is coming in, like where you sit here and all this stuff comes in. And sometimes the energy is going out, where you put things on the water and then they go out to sea, right? So knowing this can help you align your efforts. Okay, so for instance, for the first 3 weeks of March, if you have to do something you want to go far and wide, again, think of the tides. You're on the shore. You want your message in a bottle. You're getting off the deserted island. I always like to use those analogies. The tides are going out. You'll get out to sea with less paddling. Okay, so think about the things in your life that you might want to get out to sea with less paddling and to travel far and wide. Your engagements, your weddings, your big sales, your big purchases, your moves, your job changes, you're starting your new business, getting your life's work out there, big commitments of any kind, agreements, investments, anything that you want to travel far and wide, take advantage of the time. First of all, from starting at the end of January, but specifically talking about March, we're working with the first 3 weeks. And, if you're launching something, if you're doing something on a date and like a trip or some kind of gathering, those first 3 weeks are fully usable. If you're trying to launch something that's like a birth date of something, the first week or 10 days or so are even better, because the closer we get to the retrograde, even though we're not in it, things just start shifting. So the beginning of the month and really, for the first 3 weeks, tides are going out. All right. So in my spider analogy, this is the time that you go all over the place and build all of your webs. You shore everything up, you expand. Then the tides change around the 20th. And now you pick a web, hang out in the web, and let food come to you. Now that's not to say that you can't travel or you can't do anything. It's just an energetic of basically letting things come to you rather than going out and trying to conjure or make something happen. Because if you try to make something happen towards the end of March and into April, you're likely going to get frustrated. It will likely be shorter term than you think it will be. There will have a lot of miscommunications. I know I had it happen. I have Aries rising, so patience has been a thing I've had to develop, we'll just say. So in my earlier times of understanding astrology and really starting to learn about these tides, I would get into a writing mode because I'm a writer, and then I would try to force something to happen sometimes because I would get excited. Well, I've had entire documents delete because I was trying to make something happen. And this is just basically what happens. So it's fine for you to write. Of course, it's an amazing time for that. It's fine for you to do whatever you have to do. But the energetic of forcing or trying to make something happen, that is better aligned when the planets are going direct, okay? What's better aligned for when March 20th and after is you've done your work, you let your work for you now, and what you do is take care of the things that are calling out to be done, not the things that you're conjuring to do, okay? It's a very important distinction. You can do plenty, and you will have to do plenty, but the dishwasher is broken. You have to deal with that. Oh, the wood was rotting outside the house. Okay, well, you need to deal with that. Any of the things piled up on your desk, things that, that have been piling up, that are in your immediate circumstance, those are the kind of things that you'll want to shift to the end of the month. And the same thing goes with plans. We have to make plans all of our lives. We can't not make plans for a full Mercury retrograde cycle, right? But when you make a plan March 20th and on, know that there's, first of all, a good chance it will be canceled or changed. Second of all, if it works out, it will likely be called into question, like you're not sure if you're going to be able to do it. And that could cause a lot of stress. And third of all, by bucking yourself up with all of these things, not only will you spend a long time on the phone because, right, you can't get a hold of anybody. Nobody answers the phone anymore. So when you have to change appointments, it's a nightmare. So you'll be on the phone trying to change appointments for a really long time. And you won't leave yourself open to my favorite aspect of the retrograde, which is what I call last minute magic. All right, so last minute magic is where you have things that come to you like, wow, hey, do you want to do this? Hey, I won this ticket to here. You want to go here? And if you block yourself up, you won't leave yourself open to that, okay? So making things happen the first 3 weeks of March, leaving yourself open to last minute magic, the last 10, 11 days of March and into April, and then you'll be much happier. Okay. Now, we're going to build up to the eclipses, but I want to talk about some of the movements of the personal planets first. Okay, so Venus and Mars are still in Aquarius. This is also adding to the fact that Pluto in January got back into Aquarius. It will dip back into Capricorn one more time, September, October, November, before it's done with Capricorn for our lifetime, unless you're an elf or for some other reason live hundreds of years. So yeah, we have a lot of energy in Capricorn. For Virgo, this creates what's called a quincunx angle. Okay, this is a little bit of an awkward angle, which applies pressure. Pressure is not something that Virgos are not familiar with, right? If someone's not putting you under pressure, you're putting yourself under pressure. So, there's nothing new here. But I will let you know what the pressure is trying to create so that you can do what you're supposed to do. Your health wants attention. Even if you're feeling good, your stress management and your worrying want attention. Your lab work, anything that's behind the scenes wants attention. And that's in a short-term way and that's in a long-term way. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities to take action on that. Now, applying my principle of layers, which is how I always like to teach, the energetics of Aquarius have a certain vibration. Okay, the vibration attunes to technology, futuristic thinking. Think metaphysical, or also think just super high tech. Anything where we're thinking of the future, the greater good, the community, friends, groups, teams, all of that. Internet-based projects, social communities, networks, networking. So how can you apply all those things to your health? Okay, and those are the questions that you'll want to be asking in a short-term way and in a long-term way. Could it be that there's a medical technology that can really help you? Probably. Could it be that because you may or may not be a Virgo worrywart, that you need to manage that, and maybe learning biofeedback? Maybe there's a biofeedback app for you. Of course, I'm not diagnosing or prescribing. I'm just giving you examples of how you can think about the energetics of Aquarius and apply them to your health, because that is the way you can make the most of these potentials. So you can also join a support group, right? The Aquarian energies rule this group dynamic, and this is your house of health. So you've got a lot of chances to improve your wellness and to get down to the bottom of any issues that you may have through the lens of the Aquarian flow. Now, this is not just your health house, it's also your pets. It's also, maybe getting your animal out to a dog park. You can see however you combine the group with the other factor. That's what you want to do at this time, if you're intuitively inclined. Also, this is a work house. If you're self-employed, your business will come up here. If you work in an office or in, at home, but, with a team, then your work dynamic is going to be at play here. So you've got a lot of opportunities for networking and expansion with your work and with your customers. And again, think of those Aquarian things. If you want to expand your business, maybe you need to jump on, technological wave. If you want to expand your business, maybe you need to create a community, so all of these things are happening. Now, as the month progresses, Mars and Venus will join the Pisces party. And that is a very big deal because Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, Hygeia, and Neptune are there. Saturn and Neptune have been there for a long time, will be there for a long time more, but the other planets are shorter term. So we've got a big conglomeration of short and long-term energy in your partnership house. Partnerships, in a long-term way and a short-term way, are very strongly highlighted. Ever since Saturn got into Pisces in early 2023, I've been talking to you about relationships, and you're probably like, are we still doing this? Yeah, you're doing this. You're doing this till 2026, okay? So get used to it. But the energetics are more intense when the personal planets that move quicker are doing their quick tour through this house, okay? So collaborating, resolving issues within relationships, benefiting from your connections. And Virgos tend to have a lot of connections because they tend to do a lot of people favors. So you may have to call in some favors, and you may want to call in some favors now to get some things done. Or people may be helping, you may be helping other people. If you're building a clientele, this is amazing for that. If you're trying to find the perfect person to help you with a certain task, this is amazing for that. And now that we still have these open stars, finding brand new people, looking for brand new people, hiring people, all of that has extra special energy. Now there's one additional layer to talk about here with Pisces. Actually, there are two. One layer is the angle that they make, these planets make for Virgo, which is a 180-degree angle. This is called an opposition, and an opposition is basically a push and pull, and it could be a balancing force. So if you got something over here, I always imagine a seesaw when I think about this. When when one thing is up too high in the air, there's not balance. So you're striving. When you put more, I always say kids on the, seesaw is how I liken my seesaw analogies. I don't know if you played this. I don't even see any seesaws barely anymore at parks, but I know a lot of you remember when there were seesaws there, okay? So we would put kids on one end and try to balance it out with kids on the other end and see how many, how we would do that. And this is basically what you're doing. So you're finding balance, and it really is focused around yourself, your physical body, your health, your wellness, what you want to do, and what other people need from you. And that's the big storyline for you at this time. That's also going to be corroborated by the eclipse storyline. So you're going to hear me come back to this me versus we here pretty shortly, but I just wanted to discuss this layer first. Okay, so now the last layer of Pisces that I want to talk about is the fact that Pisces has a lot of attributes. It's on a spectrum like everything else, right? From the most difficult to the grandest. And so I want to talk about some of the ways that these energetics can manifest so that you can try to consciously divert them over to the more positive end. High emotion, adaptability, compassion, spirituality, intuition, kindness, empathy, anything like that is all in alignment with Pisces. Getting to the deeper meaning of things, spiritual connection, spiritual breakthroughs, connecting to the ethereal realms, anything having to do with psychology and healing your mind, karmic riches that come from your genetics, karmic problems that come from your genetics. All of those things are encapsulated in the Piscean energy. Private personal pursuits, quiet time, rest, retreat, and anything like that. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got indecisiveness, escapism, and procrastination. So in a time where we really need to be taking action for various reasons. First of all, the eclipses are going to require it. Second of all, because we're going to have a window that closes and makes us change the nature of our actions to, shorter term ventures. But we've got these Piscean forces making this energetic of procrastination. So you have to be very mindful of it. The way that I'm suggesting that we balance this is the energetic of inspired action. Okay, so divine inspiration, intuition, synchronicity, all those Pisces forces can help us discern and sift through all of the things that people tell us we need to do or that we think we need to do into the divine action, the divine inspired action. So be looking out for those clues that will help you pick from all the different possibilities so that you can not have analysis paralysis, which is another big Virgo thing, but this is also a Pisces thing, your polar opposite. You both tend to do this a lot. So as much as you can tune in and you can ask for the signs. You can say, universe, God, whoever you pray to, show me a sign of what I'm supposed to do with this decision-making process. There's an exercise in this book that I've talked about many times before. It's called Marriage of Spirit by Leslie Temple Thurston. And in section 2, she's got great exercises to help people when they're stuck on making a decision. It's like this way of clearing the karmic webs to be able to see the way. So you can look for that too if you want help for that. Okay, so now let's talk about the eclipses. And we've got to give a little bit of background about, we're going to layer in the stories as I usually do. What's an eclipse? What's the timeline? What can we expect? What are the signs? What are the houses? We're going to get into the details. Okay, so eclipses happen from that, where every 6 months basically we have an eclipse season that we weave into that gets stronger and then wanes. For 2 years, since the beginning of 2023 until the middle of 2025, we have an Aries Libra eclipse cycle at play. You probably will have it fresh in your mind that we cleared up a very powerful end of 2021 to end of 2023 Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle, which was very intense, ending there in October, November timeframe. And we wrapped up a lot of karma in that time. And now we're still moving along with Aries Libra relationships. Aries and Libra have to do with me versus we. That's what I like to call it. It's that polarity. Autonomy versus collaboration. Independence versus codependency or interdependence. Anything on either end of the polarity, and anything like interdependence that blends the polarity. So this is what you're working with, and this is what we're all working with. Now, specifically for Virgos, this also is in your money house, which is why I called this your cosmic wealth portal, and we're going to get to that, but I want to give you a little bit more background first, okay? So the eclipse cycles bring chances to correct beliefs that are interfering with our highest expression. And sometimes that comes through difficulties. And sometimes it comes through joy and opportunities. But regardless, we have a chance to align with what the next step is. Now, sometimes it also clears things out that are no longer on our path. And sometimes those things that we say goodbye to are not things that we want to say goodbye to. So in those instances, it can be very stressful if we have to say goodbye to something and we don't want to. But there's a lot of hellos and there's a lot of goodbyes, and that's just the nature of it. And we have, very dramatic endings and very dramatic beginnings as well. So the 2-year time frame, then we have the building of eclipse season. So we might, like 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even 6 to 8 weeks before the actual eclipses, we have a building up of the intensity of the eclipse season. So let's talk about some dates. March 25th, 5 degree of Libra eclipse. That's our March eclipse. We've got a solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on April 8th. 4 to 6 weeks, or if we take it 8 weeks or whatever you want to do before then, puts us into January, and eclipse things are happening. So depending on when you're watching this, I usually post them pretty early. You may have seen eclipse news starting to come in. Money things, relationship things, starting to brew, and you can kind of see the direction that something is going. Now, imagine it like a pot being boiled. For the whole 2 years, the eclipse potentials are just bubbling with possibility, okay? But at the time when we're in the 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, just like right before, the heat gets turned up. So every day we approach March 25th from the middle of January, it's ramping up, and now it's bubbling all over the place, and it's steaming all over the place, and March and April are like that. There's tension, there's glory, there's, intensity, and then it starts to trail off, and then we have a little bit of an integration period before we ramp up for the next one. And that's how this will go. Now, if you want to have some context as to the kinds of things that may happen, let's look back to when this has happened before. 2014 to 2016, 2004 to 2006, 1995 to 1997, if you're around then. Doesn't mean that everything that happened then will happen now, but you will notice, if you look back to those time frames, things involving your money and other people's money, things involving financial autonomy and dependence, things involving relationships and independence. You may have had some big milestones. I mean, I can look back to those milestones and, remember moving out of the house, finishing college, making a big move, all of these kinds of things tend to be major milestones that people have along the fronts of their finances and their individual. Well, for you as a Virgo, it's your financial sector. For everybody, it's me versus we, because that's, for all the zodiac. So now let's talk about your cosmic wealth portal. So this eclipse is going to be the March eclipse, 5 degrees of Libra, March 25th, is going to be in your earned income house. This is the money that you make. This is your financial security. It's your view on money. This is your budget, your savings, your spending patterns. This is your work, your financial consciousness, how much you earn, how much you think you should earn, if there's a discrepancy there, how much time you work, what your work habits are that lead to money. All of this is here. So there's something coming to fruition and completion, drama. Maybe you're retiring. Maybe you're selling your business. Maybe your business is about to boom in a big way, an exciting milestone there. Or maybe you're about to purchase something that you've always wanted. And March is a great time to make a big purchase. If you're purchasing your first home or your first whatever, a car, all of these things, something in your material experience is going to be shifted with this. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the April eclipse, but because it is influencing now, I want to mention a little bit about it. That one's going to be in your 8th house of other people's money, loans, shared money, collaborative money, government money, any kind of support that you get from somebody else. Lotto winning, sweepstakes as well. So all kinds of money is wherever it's coming from, through you or through other people. And ultimately, it all comes from the universe. And that may be the lesson that you learn. That has been one of the greatest lessons that I've learned going through my conscious experience of watching the stars. I remember when my teacher, Bridget, my first teacher who made me do astrology, she looked at my chart and she said, "Oh, you're going to make a fortune." And I was like, yes, because I was working on that at the time. I was trying to get out of the golden handcuffs of my corporation. I wanted to be able to do this type of work as my work, and I had a 5-year plan, okay? And she's like, "You're going to make a fortune." I was like, yes, I knew it, that's what I'm doing. And then she's like, "And then you're going to lose it." I was like, "Girl, you're killing me here." She's like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll get it back." But, it's hard to kind of hear at the time where you're building a fortune that you're going to lose it and how that can make sense. But she said, and she's so wise, don't worry, you're going through a spiritual process and you'll come to understand things. And when it comes back the next time, it will be stable and it will be different. And your reasons for doing it and the way that you manage it and deal with it will be better. And so this may also be true for you. if you're on a learning curve of managing your financial consciousness, why do you earn money? What is it all for? Your context with your relationships and money, all of that is under a great revolution. And this can help you accentuate your wealth portal, and not just wealth on a financial level, but wealth of resources. Okay, this has to do with resources and not just money. So it's bigger than that. Okay, so I'm going a little long here, but I got excited about talking about that. There are a couple of things I want to tell you before we close out. Besides all of that energy in Pisces, we also have a new moon, March 10th, and that is going to be at 20 degrees. That means, since it's in opposition for you, you'll get extra, and this will be in the relationship house, you'll get extra intensity if your birthday is between September 5th and September 15th and closer to around September 10th. When I give you these dates, there always can be 2 or 3 days in either direction because the sun doesn't move into each sign on the same day each year. So that's why I have to say the days around, because that is the most accurate way to explain it. So just kind of look out for fullness, completion, fruition, or actually, no, I'm sorry, that's new moon. Look for seed planting opportunities in your relationship space and with your intuition and your connection with divine. And every Virgo will have those opportunities, but you might notice something more if you're in those dates, like 15 degrees to 25 degrees, or birthdays around September 5th through September 15th to closer to September 10th. All right, now there's one nasty aspect that I want to alert you to. March 9th, we have Mars in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus, really for a full 5 days or more before. So at least March 4th, maybe a couple of days before then, through March 14th, maybe a couple of days after then. There's just this tension, there's some chaos, you don't want to be reckless. If you're texting and driving or texting and walking and doing anything reckless, this might be the time where if you stop doing that, you can save yourself or someone else. So it's just kind of a nasty thing. Good thing about it, always looking to make lemonade, is that it can crack you out of something that you're trying to be free from. So sometimes we have a tension that happens, and because of that tension, we have to do something differently. It's like a wheel that needs oiling kind of thing. So there might be an annoying wheel that needs oiling that comes right now, and if you can get the lesson from it, then you can get some magic from this tension. So great Venus aspects on March 1st, 24th, and 28th. So the days around those days, we've got sweet kisses and love and money and self-esteem. And if you are interested in knowing more dates or knowing more about the aspects and what they can bring delivered into your inbox 1 month early, and having archives of astrology education and weekly astrology education emails, then join my free VIP community at anniehelpsyou.com. You can also see my other offerings there, including my astrology certification course. So if you want to do astrology and earn money, I have been doing that successfully for decades, and I can teach you how. So if you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, you can check that out at anniehelpsyou.com, or go directly to the registration site at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.